What's going on, gamblers? Welcome to the Fight Exchange. We are here bringing to you prediction strikes fight exchange for UFC 284. My guy, David Jackson, joining me to talk about all the fighters on UFC 284 and what we think of their long-term investment value. David, how you doing today, guy?
Hey man, I love that intro. I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm David Jackson. I'm with Prediction Strike. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube. We're doing investment tips, fighter interviews, as well as this beautiful content right here. Gamblers and investors. Just want to point that out. We got investors in here as well.
I love it. I love it. That's the whole idea, right? Everybody likes to do their sports betting. We're talking lines and things like that. We're talking long-term investment. So if you want to put down a chunk of change and hope it grows over time, just kind of, peek and poke at it every single week. That's the move over here at Prediction Strike. So like we said, we are going to go ahead and dive straight on into this bad boy. What we've got for our first fight is Zubaira Tukhugov. He is welcoming UFC newcomer Elvis Brenner. And Brenner is so new to the UFC that we don't have a Prediction Strike page for him.
I noticed that when I was doing the research. I was like, where is this guy's price? So not a lot of opportunity to invest there yet. I'm sure we're going to be on that immediately, hopefully before tomorrow. And I'm sure it's going to be pretty reasonable price. We got Zubaira at $1.03. Mm-hmm. I actually feel good about that price. I'm just going to go out and say it. I think Zubaira gets the W here, and he's got a great price, and he's a really good fighter. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I don't mind it at all, man. He's one of these Russian guys, and I do think he's had some problems at the UFC level, a couple split decisions, but he's still at the phase where he can make some improvements and kind of get better and have a couple wins. I think that price can go up, and frankly, I think he finishes Elvis Brenner on Saturday. He's a minus 500 favorite on the betting line, so yeah, on this one, we might add Elvis Brenner to the Prediction Strike bank. I'm not so sure I need to invest in him.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, we'll agree on that one and just keep it moving, since neither of us have too much interest there. The next fight, though, that we do want to talk to you about is Shane Young. He is taking on another UFC newcomer in Blake Builder. I'm still not sure if it's Builder or if it's Blender. I keep on messing up
Blake
this poor
the
guy's
Builder.
last name.
Blake the Builder.
Blake the Builder. I like it. All right. So Blake is sitting at 67 cents. Most UFC debutants are in that ballpark. Shane Young's been around for a minute. City Kickboxing, he's at 85 cents, just ever so slightly below that. I don't know. The dollar mark seems to really be the standard here for these guys. So he's a little bit below that. Do you like a side on Saturday? And do either of these guys catch your attention for like long term?
Yeah, they. I don't know about super long term quite yet, but this fight does catch my attention. Shane Young, I think there is room for him to grow potentially to $1. And I believe Shane Young, he debuted against Alex Volkanovski.
He did.
So he's seen some tough competition, and he's training at City Kickboxing. I think he's bringing it, and definitely some real chance of improvement there for his stock price.
All right. I don't mind that at all, man. I've been ping-ponging back and forth on this fight all week. I like everything that I see from Blake. I really do. But it is a tough ask to come in against a fighter that is training with the caliber of partners that someone like Shane Young has. This is going to be a fun fight. I think it might be a violent fight. So whichever side you like to invest on, you might get some bonus finish points coming out of this one. I really don't hate anybody taking a stab on either side here on this one, man. It's close to a pick 'em on the betting line. And I'm not sure which of these guys really is a super long-term prospect, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I feel the same. And just like you, whenever there's these close fights like this, what I tend to do is, like, if I can't decide, I look at the team. I go straight to the team. This guy is with City Kickboxing. I trust them. So I'm going to put my money where I'm the most trustworthy, or where I feel the most trustworthy. So that's where I leaned.
Okay, that's fair, man. Totally fair. Again, coin flippy type of fight, so good luck if you're putting your money there on that one. I'm not going to argue too hard either way. The next fight on the card, Elise Reed taking on Loma Lookboonmee. This is another one, man, where I'm sorry, folks, we're going to just kind of rapid fire through some of these early fights here on the card because we really do want to talk about the long-term investment opportunities for you. I don't see too many of those right off the jump here. Some of these debuting fighters were like, hey, get in now, buy low. Not this one. Elise Reed is not somebody who I want to get super invested in. Maybe you think she can win a fight from time to time. Bet the money line. You don't need the long-term investment. Loma Lookboonmee, she is someone who I would consider investing in long-term potentially. She is very talented. She's very young, so she's got a lot of room to grow. But man, she's a natural 105er. The UFC doesn't have a 105-pound division. She's too small at 115, and that just caps her for me. I'm like, maybe we'll get to $1.50, maybe we'll get to $2 someday, but the ceiling for Loma Lookboonmee is a little too short for me to think about putting anything on prediction strike for her.
Nothing long term. If you want to make a quick buck, I mean, I do think she wins this fight, and that will improve her stock price a little bit because she's tiny and tenacious. She goes for it. Yeah, tiny and tenacious, and So for whatever that's worth, there's some room for some small growth there, but I'm okay on this one.
Yeah, I don't mind it. If you want to buy in some Loma Lookboonmee, she's very cheap, especially compared to her money line. We do expect her to get a win or two, so maybe a short-term, mid-term investment, but yeah, I'm thinking not for long-term. So why not? Go ahead, take a chunk of her for Saturday. This is a decent pump and dump opportunity.
Absolutely.
The next fight on the card, however, is another one where we've got some serious questions, man. You have got Jack Jenkins taking on Don Shainis. Shainis is a bargain bin price tag at 31 cents. Jack Jenkins coming in at $1.24. So just over that dollar hump. People are thinking maybe a little bit more of Jack Jenkins already coming into this fight, which I find very, very interesting. Don Shainis, the reason he's so cheap, man, he made his UFC debut and got tapped in about 5 seconds. So that makes sense that his price tag is a little bit down. What do you think of both these guys?
Look, I thought I maybe wrote the price down wrong at 31 cents, and I was like, no, I checked again. So I mean, and if you're wild, I mean, there's definitely a cool opportunity there for some cool growth. Jack Jenkins, I definitely more consistent, and he's taking people out. I think this is going to be just another notch on his undefeated kind of streak he's been going on, and I think Jack Jenkins takes this one. And if I were to invest, it'd be Jack Jenkins. I think I might wait on this fight before I start investing in Jack Jenkins.
I agree. It's a little too early for me on either of these guys. I'm with you. I'm expecting Jack Jenkins. It seems like poor Don Shainis, they brought him in on short notice. He had his chance, and when the UFC saw what he could do, it was like, well, we'll use you to buff up somebody else's resume while we got you. But he's probably going to get sent packing if he has another loss similarly to how he had his last one. So good luck. That is a very interesting opportunity. There's not very many times you can get an athlete for 31 cents. So if you know something we don't and you want to pile in on your boy, go for it.
Look, I'm looking for some penny stock prediction strike investors. Like, they're out there. These are for you. We're throwing these out for you guys.
Exactly. That's right. Entry level, baby. Let's go. The next fight on this massive UFC card, Clint Rodriguez taking on Shannon Ross. Now, Shannon Ross, 66 cents, a very interesting tale. He was on Dana White's Contender Series, a massive favorite. In fact, I want to go back and see this steep decline right here after that performance. People really expected Shannon Ross to come in and do something. Unfortunately, he got TKO'd there in, I believe, the second round of his Contender Series fight. Right when it looked like he was starting to shift the tide into his favor, he made a mistake and paid for it. Clint Rodriguez, another highly touted prospect who made his UFC debut and got shown the door immediately. He also flirted with $1 and then has dumped off since. He's now at 77 cents. Overall, a minus 9.41% profit. So you're kind of rolling the dice here with both these guys, man. David, do you like either of these prospects moving forward?
My gut for some reason, when I was looking at this fight, Clayton Rodriguez, I think he's just a little bit more of a an up and comer. I think he's gonna be he's a little scrappier. I think he's got more potential, and so if I'm investing, I'm gonna invest in Clayton Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think that's fair, man. Clifton Rodriguez, he's younger, he's bigger. He does seem to be the more technical striker of the two. I just worry about Shannon Ross and that durability. Like I said in his Contender Series fight, he just refused to go away. And that is something that Clifton Rodriguez struggled with CJ Vergara. Now, it's been a year since we've seen him. So, again, if I have to make some kind of a play here, I do think Clifton Rodriguez is the better of the two fighters with the higher ceiling. He should win on Saturday. Man, this card is sketchy, though. There's no, just, wind them up and homer spots
No,
on this prelim card this week.
no, these guys all have to make statements though, which is it's interesting. It's like I'm on prospect watch for this fight card. There's so
I
many.
like that. Take some notes. Prospect watch. That's
Yeah,
some
yeah.
good
These guys. Um, for people that are like just getting into sports investing, like these are the fighters that you're going to be wanting to take notes on and watching them, watching their career kind of take off. And this is the opportunity to get in on some of these guys and girls while their stock is at a super affordable price. So if you see something, maybe no one else saw it, just like them, like in a grappling exchange, stand-up exchange, and you're like, oh wow, they're a little bit more advanced than I thought. Like, take note. Like, these are some fighters that can make you a lot of money in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, man. Let's move it along. Next up, we are talking maybe my sleeper for fight of the night. Melsik Begsarian is taking on Josh Kulibau. And both these
Oof.
guys, I am so excited about. Very high paced, very technical
Tough.
strikers. Josh is a little bit cheaper at 82 cents. Melsik does seem to be the guy with a little bit more hype out of the two, but Josh has had more battle tested UFC experience. So it's an interesting trade off that we've got between these two guys. And I could see this fight really going almost any which way, man. I could see either of these guys finding their opportunity and landing a knockout. They both have fast hands and big power, but they're both also tough and durable as hell. They refuse to go away. I could see this being a very close, competitive, high-paced decision type of fight. What are you doing on this one?
Okay, so I have an interesting take on this one. So what I'm doing is, for all the reasons that you just listed, I kind of like the hype on Melsik. I like how he's looking, and I think I'm investing in Melsik. But I think I'm going to make an underdog play on Josh.
Ooh, interesting.
Because I believe he's the underdog, right?
If ever so slightly. I think the last, it looks like the line is settled at minus 110.
Oh,
so it's a straight up pick 'em right now.
Yesterday he was a dog, so I was like, I don't know, maybe I could play both of these. But if he's favorited or it's even money, then I think that puts me all the way in the Melsik square.
I hear you. Yeah, if you could get plus money on this fight, that's not a bad way to look because it's going to be tight. And I think really in this spot, man, anybody could make a very solid argument for their fighter. It's one of those for me. I agree with the pick'em price tag, and I'm not sure there's necessarily much value on either side of it. I just can't wait for this fight. I think both these guys are investable, frankly, long term. If you want to roll the dice on which one you think is more investable before Saturday, you go right ahead. But they're both at solid price tags. They both have bright futures, good camps. I don't have any problem with anybody taking a stab on either of these guys as a prospect moving forward.
Yeah, for some of these earlier fights, especially these prelims right here, all these matchups, these are some fights that, right after the night's over, start making those investments, because we're going to know a lot more about 9 out of 10 of these fighters just on Saturday.
There'll be a couple of buy the dip spots if you want to rush over and get in when people sell off after a loss or something like that. I think that's a good note, man. Check on Prediction Strike when you have a chance after these fights are over. And hey, if you guys want to sign up, especially if you want to support the show and have more content from us, use deposit code FE when you sign up. over at Prediction Strike. That is for Fight Exchange. That lets them know that you watched this show, you like what you saw, and you signed up to go ahead and get started investing. Not to mention, they do all the other sports. So baseball's right around the corner. Hockey is getting into the playoffs. There was a big old trade with Bo Horvat just a week ago. You guys can invest in other sports other than MMA. That's just our favorite sport to talk about. So make sure you check it out, get involved, get invested, make some cash. The next fight is Tyson Pedro. He's taking on Modestas Bukauskas. And I'm scratching my head on this one, man. All day I'm scratching my head on this one. Modestas is sitting at $1. He was very disappointing in his first UFC run. Went back out on the regional scene, grabbed the belt, got a couple wins, and now he's back on short notice. Tyson Pedro is an interesting case. $2.16. And frankly, man, I almost think that's his ceiling. Like, I know he's just knocking people out left and right, but he's also fighting like the low-level dregs of the UFC's light heavyweight division. He hasn't fought anybody, and he actually has a loss to Mauricio Shogun Rua before he went on his injury break. You got to wonder what his real ceiling is. I'm frankly not sure. However, I don't know that I trust Modestas Bukauskas. I think the kid actually has some solid skills, but every time he gets into the cage, he drives me nuts with the low volume. He just does not throw enough. If he could throw more, I actually think he might be dangerous. For me, if I was going to play either of these guys, it would be taking the stab on the dog, Modestas Bukauskas, at the cheap dollar investment price tag here. I don't personally think Pedro goes too much higher over $2. I mean, if he gets a finish over Modestas on Saturday, maybe he gets up to, 220, maybe 250 in that ballpark. But as soon as he gets out of the spot that he's in, facing these really low-level 205ers, I don't think he's got anything for the upper end of the division. So I do think he's going to cap out at a certain point.
That is a really great point. I think you're right. And this guy did have a long layoff, but he's coming back. I think they've kind of fed him, these guys. He's handsome. He's a marketable dude. I think they want him to be a big name. And
looks like Aquaman in there.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, he's incredible physique. He's great on the microphone. I think they want him to, take hold of these big opportunities. So for me, I kind of feel similar to you, but I do think his stock probably levels out in the $3 range. Okay. So I do see some potential growth there.
Okay. All right. So similar opinions. David's seeing a little bit more investable opportunity than I am. That's okay. A little bit of disagreement's all right on the show. Next fight up is a very interesting one. Jimmy the Brute Crute taking on Alonzo Menifield. Man, Jimmy Crute was all the rage, just a couple years ago. We got Alonzo Menifield laddering himself up here, still shy of that dollar mark, which I'm a little surprised about. 92 cents.
Me too.
This man has clawed his way back into being profitable for some people out there. Jimmy Crute, on the other hand, sitting at about $1.20, leveled off. I mean, he also has fought some very low-level fighters in the UFC, and when he does, he smokes them. Like, you don't stand a chance with Jimmy Crute if you're not in some sort of the mid-level, like Mihail Oleksiejczuk, Modestas Bukauskas, a guy we just talked about, Sam Alvey, Paul Craig. This guy got them all out of there and in a hurry. But when he took on guys like Anthony Smith or Jamal Hill, now I know the Smith thing was an injury, but Jamal Hill's the champion. He smoked him. I'm still not exactly sure where we're at with Jimmy Crute. I don't know what his ceiling is. I got a lot of questions. The one thing I do know is when he wins, he finishes, and that's good for his value. Now, his opponent, Alonzo Menifield, is just a vicious power striker. And we've seen Jimmy Crute make some bad decisions on the feet and get knocked out. Saturday has got some high stakes for these guys, both as prospects moving forward, man. It's Jimmy Crute or nothing for me. But what are you doing?
I have to agree with you on this one. I think Jimmy Crute has had a tough little short road go at it, and I think he comes in this fight with a chip on his shoulder. I think he is going to win the fight. So, if I'm investing, I'm investing Jimmy Crute. Alonzo Menifield is a tough dude, and he could, there might be some plus money on him inside the distance. That might be a good opportunity because he has that ability. But if I'm investing, I'm going Jimmy Crute because, Jimmy Crute, I can see him just kind of progressing and getting to a point where he could compete with the higher end. But Alonzo, I think he's just kind of he has a ceiling of just like athleticism and explosivity. If he can get there, great. But I don't see him being a highly skilled, upper echelon fighter.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I really couldn't. Jimmy Crute, I do think, has some kind of a ceiling on him. The UFC obviously sees something in him. And Alonzo Menifield is 35 years old now. So, like, he's still relying on that athleticism and power and not so much the skill and technique. That's going to dip at some point. He's still going to catch some people. Menifield's going to get some highlight reel KOs for a couple years still to come. But I think he's not going to see much movement here. Now, when it comes to prediction strike, however, if the UFC keeps putting Menifield in like freak show type fights where he's just in a fun spot where he can clip somebody and hype everybody up, then his price could go up a decent bit. But I would be watching this one on Saturday because if you do like Menifield moving forward, I think Jimmy Crute probably gets the win and you could get a little bit of a buy low on Menifield for his next couple of fights. I think the time to get on Jimmy Crute, though, is now.
Great point. I love that.
All right. Man, we are getting close to the end of this bad boy. Guys, if you could hit the like button for us when you get the chance, support the show. We're going to be coming to you every other week, and especially on pay-per-view weeks, to talk through the long-term and short-term investment opportunities that you may have with Prediction Strike. So help us out. All right. Next fight up, we've got Parker Porter, the king himself, taking on Justin Tafa, your heavyweight slobber knocker of the week. This is fun stuff, man. I don't know that I want anything to do with either of these guys from a long-term investment point. Parker's starting to knock on the door of 40. I think he's 37 years old. He's still just shy of that dollar price tag. Tafa is just over the hump of $1, and he is definitely the younger of the two fighters. Reminds me of, a lot of Tai Tuivasa, very similar style, just kind of walks forward, heavy on his feet, throws bungalows. Like, he's going to be fun. He's going to get some knockouts, but not overly technical, and 5-3 at the age of 29 in the UFC. Like, is there ceiling for these guys? Either of them? Are you interested?
Hey, look, I love me some Parker Porter. He looks like a guy that fights at the river, and I think maybe at one point in his life he probably did. Yep. But he has like consistently surprised me with his ability inside the octagon. I think it's easy to underestimate his fight IQ because of the way he looks or presents himself.
Yeah.
But he's legit. Like, he is good. Like you said, there is a little bit of a ceiling because of his age. Like, how much further can this guy go? I don't see him soaring too far past $1, but and that's pretty much how that's going to go. And this one, investment wise, I might stay away from.
I agree, but I do got to ask you though, David. What does Parker Porter's price look like if he gets the John Jones rematch? Like, if he beats Tafa on Saturday and he grabs the mic and he calls out John Jones for Parker Jones 2, the fight we've all been waiting for since the regional days, how high is that ceiling look like if he can get himself a John Jones fight?
Shoot, man, I don't know, 250, 3. That would be hilarious.
I just hope he's got the ring sense to do it, man. I hope he's tied into the memes on the internet and he knows it's a thing. I just want to see that happen. I'm rooting for Parker on Saturday just to see the call out.
I want that. Yeah.
Right? It's going to be so good. All right, man. Here we go. We finally got something fun to talk about. Maybe the number one name on this card when it comes to long-term investment, Jack Della Maddalena. He is getting a massive step up in competition this week against Randy Rude Boy Brown. And it's not an easy one. It's not an easy one at all. But Jack is already knocking on the door of $2. This man has skyrocketed in his first couple UFC fights, and they are putting him on the fast track. You can just tell by the way the UFC is marketing this man that they want him to move forward and do big things. Randy Brown sitting at $1.30. He's a guy that's been battle tested. He's fought a lot of big names in the UFC. He's been very, very scrappy in all of those fights, fought back from some adversity, had some big finishes. He's been around for a while. I mean, Randy Brown is the type of guy that could have this, resurgence in his career at this point, finally maybe become the guy everyone expected him to be. This is a real crossroads fight for these guys. Would you want to roll the dice and just buy the hype on Jack Della at $2? Or are you one of the people that thinks that maybe this is that spot? Maybe they rushed him a little too far, a little too quick, and it's buy low time on Randy Brown because he's the real prospect here. What are you thinking, man?
Ooh, I like the way you put that because this is a crossroads fight. I mean, we saw Randy Brown versus Cass Williams. We know he can deal with the bricks for hands, which is what Jack is. I'm gonna call him JDM. And and you can tell that Jack's been tested because of his face. It's smashed in. Like, have you seen his nose? It's like,
his nose is like
like this dude brawl. He goes down. As far as investment goes, this is tough. I try my best to see what the UFC sees and the way that they're investing in these guys, because they are investing like a certain amount of marketing time, marketing dollars, and that would push me to invest in JDM or Jack. So that's kind of where I'm going to be going investment wise with my money. I am investing in Jack. I think he's got some fun knockouts coming, and I think even if he loses this fight, he's someone that I still have my eye on and still would invest in. Which brings me to the fight itself. This is something I think I might invest in Jack prediction strike and throw a couple bucks on Randy Brown, the wood boy, because
there you go.
Man, dude, this guy's tough. This is a really tough test for Jack.
It is. It's a big step up. It's a tough test. I'm very curious to see how he manages the range, because we know Randy Brown is so good at keeping people at the end of his punches and kicks. And then there's that threat of the submission. Randy Brown's got a sneaky good grappling game. And we saw Jack get tied up and get into just a little bit of trouble in his last couple fights with the grappling. Opponents couldn't quite cash in on it. Randy's the type of guy that could cash in on it. So I hear you, man. I think that's a good call. But frankly, this is another spot where I would run to prediction strike if there's a dump on Jack Della after he loses to Randy Brown. If he gets caught and this price dips a little bit, that would be the time to jump, I think, on Jack Della, because I do think he's got a very high ceiling, and the UFC is marketing him well, and they are putting him in the right spots. I actually think he's going to beat Randy Brown personally, but if he doesn't, you'll get a nice little break on that price tag for the future.
Either way, you're good.
That's right. All right, man. We are talking about the big ones now. Co-main event slot. We've got Yair Rodriguez. He is taking on Josh Emmett. And one of my personal favorite fighters, Josh Emmett. The dude is 37 years old. He's getting up there in age. He's had a whole bunch of injury problems. In fact, there's a rumor swirling around right now that he's got an injured hip coming into this fight. I don't think there's any long-term investment on Josh Emmett. I mean, he's already up in that $4, $4.50 price tag where we talk about, especially in mixed martial arts, just kind of the climate right now. That's about as high as you get when it comes to these non-title contenders or non-champion type of fighters. Now, he will be the interim champion if he wins on Saturday, so the price could go a little bit higher. But considering his age, considering Volkanovski would be next for him if he got that, interim strap, I don't think Josh Emmett goes any higher than this number. Maybe if he wins, but it's not going to be enough for me to bite down on a $4.50 price tag personally. Yair Rodriguez is slightly cheaper at $4.27. He has basically the exact opposite storyline. He's got the youth. He's got a country behind him. He's got the UFC behind him. They're rushing to Mexico with everything they've got right now. After Brandon Moreno got that belt wrapped around his waist, they want another one. They want Yair with gold. He's good on the mic. Like you mentioned before, he's good on the eyes. Like, I think this is one-way traffic when it comes to the marketing. Like, one of these guys, the UFC wants to have a belt around their waist. So I do think there is some upside potentially to Yair Rodriguez. Now, I don't know that he can necessarily beat Volkanovski if he does get the interim strap, but that opens up the crack for him to maybe have an opportunity. And if he gets the win over someone like Josh Emmett, who's already more expensive than he is, if he does it by finish and then gets a crack at the real gold, you might have some future investment opportunity for Yair Rodriguez. And even if he doesn't win that and ends up in the contender circle for the next couple of years, gets a couple finishes, he could work up to that 550 mark without being the champion. So if there's a side to invest on Prediction Strike, I think it's Yair. What about you, man?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, Josh Emmett, that's our guy. We're partnered with Josh, and we got the
Ball
chance
gang.
to go. Yeah, we're on the Josh gang.
You can't say that. I'm sorry. You're not a member of the Bald Gang.
No, not quite. Not quite. They're with you in spirit, though. Bald spirit.
I'm gonna buy you a bald cap. You'll just have to tuck it back.
I'll do it. But no, we love Josh Emmett. Obviously, I personally think he is winning this fight. But I think the investment opportunity is with Yair because, like you said, he's got the youth on his side and he can turn his career around still, even with a loss here. So I think that is the opportunity because when he loses on Saturday, his stock price is going to go down. Great opportunity to pick that up. I would pick that up all day long.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. On every point, I've been a Josh Emmett chest beater for a bunch of years, man. I love the guy. I've been waiting for him to get his crack, his opportunity. I'm glad he gets the shot at interim at least here on Saturday, and I think he's got every opportunity to win this fight. Don't get me wrong. But again, Volkanovski is a tough mountain to climb. As much as I'm a fan of Josh Emmett, I'm not sure he's getting by Volk if they run that fight. He can do it. He can knock anybody out. We've seen it before. And we think of him as this knockout guy, but Josh Emmett keeps winning these damn decisions too. So he's got
wrestling. He's got wrestling, and he's just such a meat and potatoes, strong dude. And I think against Yair's style is really effective, but I just think Josh is going to punch right through it. He's just going to cut through it like a knife through butter, and Yair's going to have problems, especially with Josh having the wrestling on the side too. He has way more ways to win for Josh. So
I just pray he goes to it, man. That's the one thing. Josh can wrestle. We all know it. He just never does it in the fight. Josh wrestle just a little bit against Yair.
Just a touch.
All right, everybody. It's main event time. We've got the man himself, Alexander Volkanovski, the current pound-for-pound king, putting that title on the line against the faded Islam Makhachev. Father's plan come to true fruition. He took the title. He is fighting for the rank of pound-for-pound greatest fighter on the planet on Saturday. What a fight this is going to be, man. I cannot wait to see what happens here. These guys are expensive. This is where we talk about, these are the champs. You got $6.49 on Islam, and you've got $6.73 on Volkanovski. Man, you make bank at the UFC championship level with these fighters. If you pick a guy when he's low down here and he makes it to the UFC, and then they defend their title 4 or 5 times and just starch people every single time, that price jacks. So this is the goal, folks. This is where you want to be. I don't know that I'm buying in at this time on these guys. Now, maybe if you think Islam is going to drag Volkanovski to the floor and tap him out and get that finish and have that bonus money, there's definitely some upside to him. He's so young. He's going to have a lot of challengers at lightweight. And if he reigns true for the next 10 years, if he's the new GSP or Anderson Silva, then there's value. He'll break Prediction Strike UFC records for how valuable he is. So maybe you can buy in on him here at this price tag. Volkanovski, he's a little bit older. So as much as I think he's obviously the greatest champion that division has ever seen, and it's going to be tough to unseat him, I do think the level of competition is going to catch him a bit sooner. I don't think I'm investing long-term in Volkanovski just in general. I'm kind of an ageist when it comes to this stuff, but Islam would be the side that I would be looking at. But even then, I've just got a hard time biting that big price tag, man. What are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The prices are already to the roof for both of these guys. The opportunity was, a year and a half ago with, Islam. Islam was like this guy who was so tough that he wasn't getting fights and his name wasn't getting thrown out there. So he did have a good price. But I mean, the cat's out of the bag. You know, this is like Apple and Meta. The stock is already up. These are well known entities, and you're not getting in on the ground anymore. The tiny bit of value I would see is, you know, if Alexander gets it done and becomes, one of the greatest of all time, and just goes on a 155 run, you know, that I could see that going into the sevens for
That's
sure,
true. That's true.
for sure. Um, but yeah, I think whoever is going to make money on these two already made money on these two.
You know what? That's probably a great way to look at it, man. If
And
you've invested,
congratulations.
you've done your job. Congratulations. You've got the cash in pocket. Now's not the time. So man, we don't necessarily want to leave people on that depressing note that they missed the boat on these two guys. If there's who's your target this week? If there's one fighter on UFC 284 that you're thinking about investing in, who's your pick for this week?
Ooh, that's a great question. If I had to pick one, man, I think JDM,
Okay.
Jack Della Maddalena. He's great, and he's going to be in a lot of I think big fights coming up. So I think he's a
I think
solid
that's a good
investment.
call. I
Yeah.
think that's a good call. I think for me, it's going to be Jimmy Crute. I think this is kind of a buy low spot on Jimmy Crute. And after his year-long layoff and the injury, I think we're about to see Crute 2.0. I think training with Robert Whitaker, he's going to make some improvements. The fight IQ is going to go up. And if he can just kind of harness that raw skill that he's got, he's going to be a problem. So I think a $1.20 for Jimmy Crute moving forward would be my pick for a long-term investment.
Love that as well. I'm in.
There we go. All right, everybody. That was the Fight Exchange. Thank you very much for hanging out with us here. Make sure you go check out Prediction Strike. Again, deposit code, use FE to go ahead and get you a free fighter stock when you make that deposit. Get signed up, start playing around here. David, my guy, any final closing thoughts before we exit out here on the show?
Have fun investing, guys. Have fun. This is a fun one. There's so many young fighters with low prices on this card, and we're going to learn a lot on Saturday. So I just want to reiterate that. Take your notes, find your guys, and if they do it for you, dump the money down. This is a time where you can really make some good money here. With that being said, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We do tips there. Our Instagram, it's the same at Prediction Strike, and enjoy. I mean, this is such a fun avenue aside from betting that you can get involved in all of these different sports, and it just makes it so much more entertaining, and you get to make money. What you ask for, guys?
That's the best part right there. Speaking of making money, before we cut the people loose, they need to know, they need to be aware. If you guys watched the last episode, I went 1-0 on our little gentleman side bets here. I was able to go ahead and get the dub over Terrence McKinney, but your guy, David, hit me up. He texted me when he saw I was on Blagoy Ivanov, and he said, give me Tybura, and he evened it up. So we're officially 1-1 on gentlemen's bets. I don't want the people thinking that I'm lording this 1-0 record over you. They got to know you got me back last week.
You know what? I appreciate that, and it was that loss for Terrence. That was a tough one. I really had high regard for Terrence, but yeah, I mean, I can't bet against Marcin Tybura. That guy finds a way to win every time.
You got the money back at the end of the day. That's what matters.
We're 1-1. We're 1-1. We'll let you know if there's any side bets for this one.
Of course.
Clint, can I ask you really quickly who you have in the main event?
So in the main event, I am picking Islam Makhachev. It makes me feel dirty inside, but I think I got to go with him. I think the size is eventually going to go ahead and be a problem. But man, I learned a long time ago, you just don't doubt Alexander Volkanovski. He's one of those guys. You just don't doubt him. So anybody who is taking the plunge on that plus 300 money line or investing in him on Prediction Strike, I mean, more power to you. Like, you go for it. If there's ever a dog, I've said this all week, if there's ever a dog that's going to fight for your money, it's the pound for pound king. So I don't fault you for making that play whatsoever.
Dude, I think the doubt is shooting directly into Volkanovski as confidence. I think he's taking it all and he's going for it. He's going to do something big. I think he's going to win probably the biggest upset possibly in UFC history as far as like modern era fighters.
I'm rooting for him. I'm here. I'm here for it, man. I'm hoping the Bald Gang comes through strong in the co-main and main event this week, man. I want both dogs to get their hand raised and then give me an Emmett versus Volkanovski 145 title champ match. That's what I'm hoping for. So I'm rooting for you, and that's where live betting comes into play, because if the tide starts shifting on Islam, I'm jumping in live. You guarantee it.
Edge it up.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching the show. Hit us with a like button on your way out. If you haven't already, get subscribed, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks for UFC 285. Good luck out there.
Boom. Have fun.